I had poured my life into Vance construction. For 30 years, it was my sole focus. Every brick, every beam felt like my own. My father, George, had started it, but I had made it an empire. I sacrificed everything for this company. Father's health had been declining steadily. His mind, once sharp, now drifted. Making important business decisions became impossible for him. I took over more responsibilities as I always had. I tried to protect him from stress. Then Liam returned, my younger brother. He had been the family's black sheep for years. Suddenly, he showed an unusual concern for father. He visited daily, bringing gifts and offering comfort. I found his sudden devotion suspicious. A week later, our family gathered in the study. The lawyer, Mr. Davies, sat at father's old desk. He held a thick envelope. Father looked distant, barely acknowledging us. Liam sat close to him, a hand on his arm. Mr. Davies cleared his throat. He began reading the will. It was a new version, he explained. My name was mentioned, then quickly dismissed. All my shares, my inheritance, everything I had built was gone. It was all left to Liam. My breath caught in my throat. I could not believe what I heard. This made no sense. Father would never do this. He knew my dedication. Was this truly his decision? I felt a cold dread spread through me. I looked at Liam. His eyes met mine for a fleeting moment. A small, almost invisible smirk played on his lips. It vanished quickly, but I saw it. It confirmed my worst fears. This was his doing, I knew it. The legacy of Vance Construction, my life's work, was now snatched away. The company, the name, everything I had protected was threatened. I felt the weight of decades of effort. It was crumbling before my eyes. I was a stranger in my own home, my own company. Employees looked at me differently. The respect I once commanded was gone. Liam moved through the halls like he owned them. He was the new master. A profound sense of injustice settled within me. I had to understand how this happened. I would uncover the truth no matter what it took. My resolve hardened. This was not over. Justice would be served. The boardroom felt different now. My authority, though still present, carried a new weight. I sat through meetings, listening to discussions about the company I had built. My future here had been ripped away, yet I maintained my composure. I observed everyone, especially Liam. I began my quiet investigation. I spoke to department heads, casually asking about recent changes. Liam moved through the offices with a new confidence. He was always near the finance department. His presence felt like a shadow over everything. Memories of Liam surfaced. He always sought the easy path, the quick gain. There was the time he tried to leverage father's name for a failed venture. Now his sudden interest in father's well-being seemed less like care and more like a calculated move. It was a familiar pattern, but on a grander scale. I reviewed father's personal accounts, a task I had always handled. Small discrepancies appeared. Large withdrawals made by an unfamiliar hand. These were not father's usual spending habits. The dates aligned with Liam's return. It was a subtle shift, but significant. I also requested father's recent medical reports. His doctor had always been thorough, but recent entries seemed vague, almost rushed. There was a new, unfamiliar name listed for some visits. This raised a clear red flag. It suggested a lack of transparency. Liam wasted no time. He suggested restructuring key departments. Small changes at first, then larger ones. He questioned my decisions in meetings, subtly undermining my authority. He even moved his office closer to mine. It felt like a deliberate encroachment. I reached out to a few trusted contacts, old friends from father's generation. They knew Liam's history, his past dealings. I asked about his recent whereabouts, his associates. Information came slowly in hushed tones, but it painted a clearer picture of his hidden activities. The weight of this battle pressed down on me. My usual allies in the company were hesitant, unsure of where their loyalties should lie. I realized this was my fight alone. My resolve deepened. I would not let my life's work be stolen so easily. I began to meticulously document everything. Every questionable decision Liam made, every suspicious interaction. I kept a detailed log, cross-referencing dates and times. This evidence would be critical. It was a strategic effort to build a case. Then, a breakthrough. One of my old contacts mentioned Liam's frequent visits to a particular legal firm, not ours. This firm had a reputation for handling complex estate disputes, often with questionable methods. A connection emerged. It linked directly to the new will. This was the opening I needed to expose his deeper plot and ensure justice. I met with my trusted legal advisors in a quiet downtown office. I laid out the facts of the new will. We discussed my father's declining health and Liam's sudden involvement. This was not a personal vendetta. It was a complex corporate dispute. My team understood the stakes. Back at Vance Construction, I initiated a discreet internal audit. I focused on recent financial transactions and legal documents. My team was careful, looking for any irregularities. We needed to build a clear picture of Liam's activities since his return. Every detail mattered. I started gathering irrefutable evidence. This included bank statements, medical reports, and internal company memos. I cross-referenced dates and names. Each piece of paper was a thread in a larger tapestry. I was meticulously building a case against Liam's manipulation. My deep knowledge of the company's systems became my greatest advantage. I tracked Liam's attempts to redirect assets. He thought his moves were hidden, but I saw every digital footprint, every questionable transfer. He was making mistakes, and I was documenting them. Liam's confidence grew with each passing day. He walked the halls like the undisputed owner. He made bold pronouncements in meetings. He was completely unaware of the meticulous investigation taking place behind the scenes. His arrogance was a weakness I could exploit. The reality of my own brother's betrayal still caused a deep ache. It was hard to reconcile, but I channeled that emotional turmoil into strategic focus. This was about justice, about protecting my father's legacy. I would not let personal pain cloud my judgment. Liam tried to push through several key decisions. He wanted quick changes. I strategically postponed them, citing corporate due diligence and the need for further review. I used company protocols as a shield. Each delay frustrated him, but he could not argue with procedure. I worked late nights, fueled by coffee and an unwavering resolve. The urgency of protecting my father's legacy and my life's work drove me. The office felt quiet and empty, but my mind was sharp. Every hour brought me closer to the truth. My network of loyal employees provided subtle insights. A quiet word from a longtime manager, a hushed observation from a clerk. They risked their own positions to help. These small pieces of corroboration were invaluable. They reinforced what I already suspected. Finally, the comprehensive plan was complete. Every piece of evidence, every legal argument was in place. It was a detailed strategy to legally challenge the will and expose Liam's fraud. The time for action was approaching. Justice would soon be served. I sat in my lawyer's office, watching him sign the final papers. We had formally challenged the revised will. The legal proceedings were now officially underway. It was a decisive step, marking the beginning of the battle. The news spread quickly. Whispers filled the halls of Vance Construction. My challenge to the will became public knowledge. It forced an acknowledgement of the dispute within the company and among our family. The silence was broken. Liam was clearly surprised. He had underestimated my resolve. I saw it in his eyes, a brief flicker of shock when we crossed paths. He thought I would simply accept his deceit. He was wrong. I presented my initial findings to a select group of family shareholders and board members. I outlined the irregularities in the will's execution. I showed them the evidence of undue influence. Their expressions shifted from doubt to concern. The pressure was immense. I felt the weight of it all, but I maintained my professional composure. Inside, the personal anguish was a constant companion. I had to balance my duty to the company with my fight for justice. I confronted Liam directly. There was no anger in my voice, only the cold, hard facts of his deceit. I laid out the evidence I had gathered. He tried to deny it, but his words lacked conviction. He knew I had him cornered. The initial legal filings had an immediate impact. Several company assets Liam was attempting to liquidate were now frozen. His plans for a quick financial gain were halted. It was a small victory, but a significant one. I knew the road ahead would be rigorous. Liam would fight back ruthlessly. I spent hours preparing, reviewing every detail with my legal team. This was not just a legal battle, it was a strategic war for integrity. I found a renewed sense of purpose. This was no longer just about my inheritance. It was about upholding integrity, about protecting my father's true legacy. It was about ensuring accountability for Liam's actions. My resolve strengthened. Then a message arrived hinting at Liam's desperate countermove. He was not giving up. His actions suggested further malicious intent, a new scheme to undermine my efforts. The battle was far from over. Liam's countermove was swift and public. News articles clearly planted started appearing. They painted me as unstable, questioning my leadership. He tried to discredit my decades of professional work. It was a calculated smear designed to undermine my position. I responded with professional calm. My team released official statements. We highlighted the ongoing legal process. We emphasized transparency and adherence to corporate governance. Facts were my shield against his baseless accusations. My reputation was built on truth. The corporate instability grew. I saw the concern in the eyes of our partners. I could not allow this to continue. I promptly called for an emergency board meeting. It was time to address the root cause of the disruption directly. The future of Vance Construction depended on it. Before the meeting, I reached out. I spoke with key industry figures. I connected with long-standing company stakeholders. My relationships were built on trust and shared success. They listened, understanding the gravity of the situation. Their support was crucial now. During the meeting, I presented the forensic audit results. The data was undeniable. It clearly illustrated Liam's attempts to siphon company resources. Every suspicious transaction was laid bare. The numbers told a story of deliberate financial malfeasance. The family was further divided. Some members, initially hesitant, began to shift. They saw the evidence. They recognized my integrity. They understood the true threat Liam posed to our legacy. Their cautious support was a small but significant turning point. The scrutiny was intense. Every decision, every move felt magnified. I carried the weight of the company's future. The livelihoods of our employees, the reputation of our family name rested on my shoulders. I had to remain steadfast and strategic. My investigation went deeper. I uncovered evidence of Liam's manipulation dating back years. It was a pattern of opportunism, not a sudden lapse. Each discovery revealed a more cunning and calculated scheme. His deceit was a long-standing trait. I made a powerful presentation to the board. It was data-driven, precise, and irrefutable. I exposed the full extent of Liam's corporate malfeasance. The facts spoke for themselves. The silence in the room was heavy with the weight of the revelations. The discussion that followed was brief but impactful. The board members exchanged glances. Then the chairman cleared his throat. He initiated a formal vote on Liam's position within the company. A decisive moment was at hand, signaling his potential downfall. My legal team presented our comprehensive body of evidence to the court. Years of meticulous documentation were now laid bare. Every questionable transaction, every manipulated document was displayed. The sheer volume of proof was overwhelming. Liam's legal counsel struggled to counter our claims. Their arguments grew weaker with each piece of evidence we presented. I watched his face in court. His usual arrogance began to crack under the pressure. He seemed to shrink in his seat. Several individuals, once hesitant, found their courage. They stepped forward to corroborate my claims. Their testimonies provided crucial insights into Liam's deceitful actions. Their words painted a clear picture for the court. Justice was unfolding. The court's investigation confirmed our suspicions. They found undeniable proof of Liam's undue influence over my father. The manipulation of a vulnerable man became evident to everyone. It was a painful but necessary truth. I faced Liam across the courtroom. My demeanor remained calm, resolute. My focus was solely on presenting the truth, on seeking justice. He avoided my gaze, unable to meet my eyes. His confidence had completely evaporated. The media's narrative began to change. They moved from sensational family drama to corporate ethics. The focus shifted to accountability and the pursuit of justice. Public opinion was turning. The truth was finally reaching everyone. Liam's professional standing was irrevocably damaged. His name became synonymous with deceit and manipulation. The truth had come to light. His carefully constructed facade crumbled completely. There was no recovery for him now. A complex mix of emotions settled within me. There was sorrow for my brother's choices, for the path he had taken, but there was also a deep satisfaction that justice was finally being served. It was a heavy victory, not a joyful one. The court issued its preliminary rulings. They strongly favored my challenge to the will. This indicated a full restoration of my rightful inheritance. The end of this long battle was in sight. My father's true wishes would be honored. Liam now faced severe legal and professional consequences. His manipulative scheme was utterly exposed. The foundation he built on lies had collapsed. Justice had indeed prevailed. His downfall was complete and undeniable. The judge's voice echoed in the courtroom. He declared the manipulated will null and void. My father's true intentions were finally recognized. I felt a quiet sense of vindication wash over me. The legal battle was truly over. Liam stood silently as the verdict was read. His face was pale, his shoulders slumped. The legal consequences were severe. He was permanently severed from Vance Construction. His actions had led to his complete downfall. I stood before our employees in the main auditorium. I spoke of stability, of our shared future. Their faces showed relief, a renewed sense of purpose. Vance Construction was back on its true course. I promised transparency and strong leadership. Rebuilding trust was my next crucial task. I started with honest conversations, acknowledging the recent turmoil. Healing the family's rifts would take time and effort. I knew it was a necessary part of our recovery. The journey had been long and painful. Exposing my own brother had left deep scars. I reflected on the profound personal cost. Justice was served, but at a price. It was a bittersweet victory. I immediately implemented new governance structures. These were designed to prevent any future manipulation. Ethical conduct became our core principle. We would operate with unwavering integrity. My father's true legacy was integrity and hard work. I found solace in upholding those values. I would steer Vance Construction with a renewed vision. His name would always stand for honor. My focus shifted to mentoring the next generation. I shared my knowledge, my experience. I wanted them to understand ethical leadership. Ensuring the business thrived ethically was paramount. I accepted my role as more than just a CEO. I was the guardian of our family's honor. Protecting our professional reputation became my sacred duty. This was my birthright, my life's purpose. Vance Construction moved forward into a new era. I stood stronger, wiser, and more resolute. I had reclaimed my birthright and my life's work. The future was built on truth and integrity.